What's going on, Buck Nation? I'm Chase Beckham here with CSU Athletics. We've got the first edition of the CSU Men's Basketball Coaches Show. I'm joined by none other than the head coach of the Bucs, Saah Nimley. Coach, how we doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you having me.
No problem. It's been a long offseason, Coach. You've had 12 new guys on the roster.
Yeah.
One big addition at home.
Yeah.
Tell us who that is.
That's my son this year. He's 5.5 months right now, so
That's awesome.
He's doing great. He's doing great.
Perfect. Well, aside from Nasir back at home and Miss Marley taking care of him, what's been the biggest adjustment as a coach for you from March of this year to going into Virginia Tech next week? What's been your biggest adjustment coaching-wise?
I think it's just like you said. It's 12 new guys. Last year we had 4 returners, 4 double-figure scores back, and that's not the case this year.
Right.
And just getting so many guys that are going to be such big contributors acclimated to who we are and what we do. That's kind of been like at the forefront of my mind and how to kind of speed up that process to get those guys ready for November 3rd.
No doubt. So with all those new guys, 75% of your roster is new. And that's not even a production number. That's just straight bodies on the court.
Right.
75% new roster. Highlight going into the portal in the offseason in March. What were the points of emphasis for you and the staff of how you wanted to build that group of guys?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the first thing is just kind of finding people that fit our culture. And the type of coach that I am, I have to find kids that fit with that and that kind of resonate with my personality. That obviously was the biggest thing. We wanted to really add shooting skill and depth. That was those are the kind of our 3 biggest Achilles heels is who haven't been able to shoot the ball well. We weren't as skilled as we should have been, and then we with injuries kind of magnify your depth. So just really focusing on that, and we're really happy with what we got. We feel really good, and a lot of the guys that we did get, they are what we thought they were going to be. So that's always a good thing as a coach.
Awesome. Now, I'm glad you touched on culture because I think of at least 90% of the practices that I'm at, you always mention we're a defense-first program.
Right.
A question I've got for you is, obviously, I won't say it's easy, or everybody would do it, to identify offensive talent in the portal. You can look at shot charts, you can look at film, you can look at stats. On the defensive side, how do you identify and analyze a kid's capabilities on the defensive end?
That's a really good question, man.
I told you I had some good ones for you guys.
Yeah, that's something that I don't get asked often. I always look at their intent. That's you. Sometimes you can't really tell if a dude can just like flat out do it, right?
Yeah.
But you just try to look at his attentiveness. Like, is he just staring at the ball and getting backdoor? Like that's a big no. Is he just dying on every screen? That's a no. So just understanding like how we do things. We guard ball screens a certain way. We do things with a certain type of physicality. Just making sure that I find guys on film. When they check out offensively, it's like, okay, now let me get to the defensive clips and just see where their attention is at. Like, are they attentive? Are they giving effort? Are they talking? Are they sprinting back on defense? Are they boxing out every possession? Like, just little things like that. As far as can they guard the ball and stuff like that, like I don't think film's always a great indicator of that. But do they do those? Usually they'll do those little things. They'll be willing to do the things that you ask them to do defensively.
I remember you told me in the offseason that you would see guys that could obviously score the ball, and you wanted to see how they were on the court because then you trusted your coaching to be able to teach them how you play defense.
Right.
So I'm glad that we've gotten guys, and I've seen in practice that it's kind of worked out well.
For sure.
So like I said, so many transfers. We've got, I believe it's 9 transfers to be exact, and of those 9, 7 were not at a Division I school last year.
Right.
Which obviously some people, if you would have said that 10 years ago, somebody may look at that and have something to say about it. But I don't know if you realized this in Johnson City 2 weeks ago when we were there. Of the 9 player representatives from the conference, 4 of those 9 have played at a JUCO or a Division III school before now being in the Big South. And this isn't just the pool of players in the league. That's the 9 representative guys,
right.
Cream of the crop level guys, and 4 of them not a D2. JUCO or D3.
Right.
So one of the guys that we've picked up from one of those non-D1 levels is Luke Williams,
Right.
a point guard from Maryville up in the GLBC. I want you to touch on Luke a little bit because I read a quote that you said in the Blue Ribbon yearbook where you said Luke may be the best point guard that you've got to coach in your 7 years at CSU. So obviously I don't want to pry at the other names that would be in that conversation, but tell me what Luke does specifically that earns him that compliment from you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about him is he just plays the game the right way. He lets it come to him. If the game says shoot it, he shoots it. If the game says pass it, he passes it. He's a really, really good defender, and he's physical. He's a team guy. He moves that ball around, and it just fits this team really well. And he's a competitor, man. Like the kid comes out every day, and I was telling my coaches this, a couple of weeks ago, but like what you're going to get from him every single day, and that really brings you comfort, especially at the point guard spot.
Perfect. We'll talk about one of those everyday guys a little bit later with Lachey, but I want to go to the other side of the backcourt with Alon. Obviously, a guy that's returning. I don't know, since he hasn't played since March of 2024, if people have forgotten this, but when Alon finished his last year, he was fifth in the league in scoring, in conference play.
Right.
16.6 a game, I believe it was. What do you think when Alon gets back on the court for us this year? What do you think is the first thing fans will be reminded of when they see him play?
Yeah, man, that's a real player right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's really just like he brings a swagger. I was telling somebody this literally like 2 days ago. He brings a swagger. Like he has a true swagger to him, and it just resonates through your whole team.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And the way he carries himself, the confidence that he has, like he walks out there and he feels like, hey, I'm that guy.
Yep.
But then he also tries to prove to you that he's that guy. And those guys that do that, they're special. They're special, and Alon's a special talent.
No doubt. I'm about to say, I've heard this for a long time, and you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. There's definitely a difference when you're watching a basketball game between a basketball player and a hooper.
Right.
And I think, somebody may average more points or somebody may look a certain way, but you can tell the difference. And I think Alon, not to hype him up even more than you just did a little bit, but I think that's, when you talk about that swagger, the first word that comes to my mind is that's a definition of a hooper.
Right.
So I'm very glad Alon's back. A guy that's on the roster, about 5 pounds heavier, 1 inch taller, who's also going to play a good bit of minutes for us this year, I believe, is Bryson Blaine. We talked to the Field of 68, 2 weeks ago. You said that Bryson fits the mold of a productive Charleston Southern guard. What would you say Bryson has to do right this season to truly leave a mark on the CSU basketball program?
Yeah, man, his ceiling is, it's up there.
Yep.
And for Bryson to have to leave the impact that I know he's capable of, he just has to choose to do it. We've had conversations. He's as smart as it gets. He feels the game. He understands the game. He can dribble, pass, shoot. He just has to overcome some of the mental lapses that he has, and we've talked about that, so I don't mind saying it. But just some of those mental lapses that he may have at times, or lack of concentration things. But man, he does so much right. He affects the game in so many different ways, and if he'll put it all together, man, like he's
a dangerous player.
Yeah, he's dangerous. He's dangerous.
Beautiful. So we talked about some backcourt guys. I'm going to flip to the front court. Like I mentioned earlier, the everyday guy definition has become the definition. Lachey O'Leary. In the blue ribbon, you quoted and said that Lachey probably is going to be the most improved player in the Big South this year. We talked about it at Johnson City Media Day. He's the poster child for development. Kind of touch on, one, how proud you are of where he's gotten to, and the second part is, do you have to do anything to keep him on the development path that he's been on?
Yeah, super proud of him, because I remember when he came in, right? Like, this is a guy that missed the first day of class because he overslept, right? Like, just to think about that now, you say like, nah, Lachey would never, right?
Right.
But he's really worked, and credit to him to be able to develop the way that he has. You have to have an internal want to, like a true internal want to, because he was one of those kids where he's 6'10". He has unbelievable measurables, but he was super raw. It's just the reality. Like, he's super raw, and that's not the case anymore. And that's only because of his hard work and his dedication to wanting to better his game. So all we can do is we tell kids all the time, like, hey, wherever you want to go, like, we're gonna meet you 100% of the way. He's a kid that's gone in 100% on himself. So it's been delightful to just be able to meet him on his path to become such a improved player.
Right. Perfect. So we've got those 4 new guys that we just touched on, 2 returners, 2 new guys. The rest of the roster, we've got a lot of clean slate opportunity for guys to get on the floor. We talked about what you and your staff emphasized going into the portal. Emphasize, now that you have the guys on paper that you're going to rock with, what is the formula on making a lineup heading into the season this week?
the thing that's going to separate guys is everyday guys, really. I think that we have good depth. I think that talent isn't the separator like we had to do last year. That was just head and shoulders above, better than everybody we played against. Also, Najee Kelly, and that's not the case. We have a group of dudes that are just really good, solid players.
Yep.
And what separates to me is that everyday guy, the guy that comes in every single day, puts his hard hat on, clocks in, clocks out, just does the hard work. And that's ultimately the separator. We want guys that play super hard. So, I'm watching, we're evaluating every day. And to be honest with you, our lineup changes almost daily.
Right, no doubt.
Just based off of how hard our guys playing.
No doubt. Well, I'm glad you mentioned depth, because I don't think there's a coach in the country that would choose not to have depth. Right. But a potential con of having so many good players is there's going to be moments where you've got good guys on the bench. With that being said, of any player, let's say any of the new guys that you've got that deserve to play, if there's one that ends up playing 5 minutes in the first week of basketball, but still remains positive and still keeps his head high, still keeps his energy up, who is that guy that is going to be resilient through any amount of minutes?
I would definitely say Trent. Trent Coleman, he's, just getting to know him through recruiting, getting to know him, in these first couple months here, like, that dude's all about the team. He's all about the right things. He just wants to win any way that he can contribute. He's great with it. And just to be able to have a guy that's in his 5th year, that's older, that's been at Division I, that's been at Division II, that's produced really well at the Division II level, to just have that type of leadership and that type of positivity from a guy, he has the respect of the whole program, not just his team, not just the locker room, but he has the respect of the program. So just having a guy like that, I think he for sure, that guy's going to be positive regardless of what's going on.
No doubt. Trent kind of reminds me of a guy, Lamar Odom Jr. In the sense, I had the recollection a couple of days, I was talking to LO and I was thinking, I said, man, Trent is a grad year. He's in his last, year of eligibility. But the amount of impact that he can make on our program really, really reminds me of how LO ended up doing it in the short amount of time that they're here. Whether it's, off the court, vocal, or being on the court and just being, he's really a unicorn to me in what he brings to our, team personnel-wise. All right, let's get into the first 3 games of the year. Starting off with Virginia Tech. Is there anyone on the roster that you think is a little bit extra excited to play on that ACC stage in night 1? It's probably not something that you think about, but is there anybody that you just think is gonna, be excited to be in that gym?
I think a lot of them will be. Some of these guys that are coming from the non-division one level haven't played against the high major yet. So for some of those guys, like, that's going to be an experience in itself. Bryson is from Richmond. Yep. So he's not Richmond, but he's around that area. Sure. So I know he'll have a lot of family there. But Keith also, I think his family is from that area too. So I think they told me a while back that they were planning on making that trip too. So I know he got a lot of family. Yeah, Reese's mom. I know Mama Jones will be there.
Sure. Probably bring some cookies or something for after the game.
I hope. But we'll I think our parents do a really good job of traveling and supporting, so I think we'll have some pretty good support out there.
No doubt. Well, obviously, going into Virginia Tech, some people may see Charleston Southern versus ACC school and just go on to the next game. But the goal for us is to win that ball game.
Right.
I don't know if people realize this. We played 5 power games last year. In those 10 halves of basketball, we either won or lost by single digits in 6 of the 10. Right. Beating Miami, coming down to the wire with LSU. So obviously the goal is to win. What has to go right for us next Monday in Blacksburg for that to be a W for us?
We just got to overcome adversity. There's going to, I've been in enough of those games where, it's open tonight. There's going to be a lot of energy in the building. They're going to be really pumped up. And can you survive those first 4 to 6 minutes? Can you survive the first 4 to 6 minutes of the second half? And if we can stick together, if we can kind of just control what we can control, which is, our effort, our communication, our execution, I feel good that we're going to give ourselves a chance late to be in that game and maybe have a chance to win.
No doubt. All right, so the second game of the year, Toccoa Falls at home, November 6th in the Buck Dome. On paper, a very different matchup than Virginia Tech. Give me one thing that will be the same on the game plan and one thing that will be different on the game plan for that matchup versus Virginia Tech.
One thing that will be the same is just how we approach it. We approach it like it's the most important game of the year. So we're going to come in there, we're going to prepare, we're going to do our scout, we're going to do everything as if we're playing Virginia Tech, and we're going to respect them and have humility about that matchup because you never know what can happen. That's the reality here. One thing that would be different would just be the personnel that we're playing against. But you have to respect the game. You have to have humility. You cannot allow that to differentiate how you go about things.
Yep. Gotcha. Third game of the year. It will be a road game, but it's 20 minutes down the road at the Citadel. Kind of paint the picture for me and the people watching what that game can and means for our program.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one word I would describe is just rivalry.
Gotcha.
I remember, when I came to CSU and we played Citadel my first 2 years here, and just how big of a game that was, and the build up to that thing, right? And it was a different era back then because it wasn't the transfer era. So like we all were here for multiple years, and we understand like what the importance is to the city on this. So my job is to get these new guys to understand the importance of that game and what it means to the community, what it means to this institution, and just to be ready to go. I mean, that's a team that's going to be improved. They got a really good coach. They did a good job in the portal, and we're excited about that matchup.
No doubt. So with the opportunity to win against a SoCon team down the road, kind of a pride in the city thing like you talk about, what is something that you hope to learn against Virginia Tech and Toccoa Falls that you want to take into McAllister Fieldhouse and get that win?
That we understand that we have to execute. Hopefully that we go. Hopefully, what we learn against Virginia Tech and what we learn against Toccoa Falls is that regardless of the situation, regardless of the time on the clock, you have to go out every possession with a high level of effort, a high level of execution, and a high level of communication. And if we can take those things into Citadel, I have a good feeling that we can be successful.
No doubt. All right, let's take it away from CSU basketball this year for a moment. I've got a couple icebreaker, a little bit off the court questions for you. They all tie back into you. They're not just random. I actually put some thought into it. All right, so the first one I've got. A week ago, I was watching a clip from your senior year. It may have been the High Point game, but something of your senior year. You hit a pull-up jump shot on the right wing in somebody's face, and the guy calling the game said that's why his Twitter handle is Can't Guard Nims. So my question is, at what point did the Twitter handle go from Can't Guard Nims to Coach Nims? When did that change?
You want to know what's funny? When I first got into coaching, it was still Can't Guard Nims, right? And I always used to say, I said, this is going to stay this until cats can guard me. And that time came. That time came where these dudes that, I'm getting in the gym with them, I said, it's time to change that handle.
For sure.
I had to change that a few years back.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Perfect. Okay, so let's take it back on for question number 2. A little bit before your senior year at CSU, I'm going to take it back to Collins Hill in Georgia. Okay. So obviously Coach Nimley went to Collins Hill in Atlanta, played high school basketball up there. I don't know if you ever heard the games called Start, Bench, Cut. It's basically, I'm going to give you 3 athlete names, Collins Hill alum and athletes, and you've got to start 1, bench 1, and cut 1. Okay. All right, we're going to start with yourself. Okay. The second one I've got for you is Travis Hunter, recent Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
And the third one is going to be Maya Moore, arguably one of the best women's basketball players. Not arguably, she is one of the best, arguably the best women's basketball player of all time. So that's your 3. Collins Hill Eagles, that's the mascot, correct? Right. All right, you can start 1, bench 1, cut 1.
Okay, I'm going to start Maya Moore. I think that's a no-brainer there. Okay. You're talking about the best athlete to ever come through Collins Hill.
There we go.
I'm going to bench Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I think, I really respect what he got for sure on that, being able to play both sides of the ball. Right. And I'll cut myself.
How about that? Okay.
Those are 2 marquee athletes we're talking
for sure. There was 1 of 2 ways you could have run with that. You could have gone the humble route, which I was betting on, or you could have gone that. Okay, perfect. Gotcha. The third one I've got for you, and this one's the most off the cuff. I've known you for a little over a year. We've got to work together. A word that you use to describe athletes and people is the word cat. If a guy can shoot the ball at night, you're going to say that cat can shoot the ball. Right. So the question is Saah Nimley a cat or a dog person? I told you, it's off the cuff.
I'll tell you what, I'm definitely not a cat person.
Okay.
I'm not really into cats at all.
Gotcha.
Have no issues with dogs. I like dogs. I don't have a dog.
Okay.
My wife wants a dog.
Gotcha.
She wanted a dog. But I think she's probably over that phase.
Gotcha. So not against dogs off the court, very much for dogs on the court, for that vocabulary. Awesome. Sure. So that's my 3 icebreaker questions for you. Before we wrap up here, Coach, I talked to Commissioner Sarita Montgomery yesterday at Rock Hill at a tennis event. And her and I were talking. She asked what we had going on this week. And I said, well, actually, tomorrow I'm sitting down with Coach Nimley and talking about the season a little bit. And she said, Chase, I want you to ask him, what are 1 or 2 words that you would choose to describe the group of guys that you have going into this season?
First one I would say is humble. Okay. That's something that I've really really appreciate about this group. Just again, some guys coming from lower levels that haven't experienced the Division I experience, and just their appreciation for what they have and what they're experiencing. That's one thing I would say is humble for sure. The second thing I would say is blue collar. Like these dudes, they show up every day. They work hard. There's not a whole bunch of coach, I need this, coach, I need that. Like they're happy with the opportunity. So I would definitely say blue collar and definitely humble.
That's great too. Guys, thank you for tuning in to the first edition of the Coach's Show. We will be back, I think, 6 times in the non-conference and then a lot more in conference play. Don't forget, season tickets are now available for men's and women's basketball here at CSU. We've got CSUsports.com for all the information you need across all sports, and we've got CSU_MB Ball for all the digital and media content that you need. So thank you guys for tuning in. Coach, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to doing this season with you.
Appreciate it.
And don't forget, go Bucs. One take, Coach.
That was pretty good.